Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Belonging Advantage. I'm Dr. Patricia Robinson, and my husband Rohan is with me once again to finish what we started. If you're new here, this season we're working through the findings from my research, the first empirical study of workplace bullying done in Cayman. Episode 1 was about why people stay silent. In episode 2, we looked at why organizations end up protecting the bully instead of the person being harmed. Then Rohan and I spent part 1 giving microbullying a name. All those small things you can explain away one at a time until you realize they've been adding up on you for months. Part 2 was about what that does to a person, and that one got personal. Today, we finish it. We start with the organization because you can know exactly what's happening to you and still find there's nowhere to take it. Then we get into what you can actually do, whether you're the one living it or the one leading the team where it's happening. Let's get into it.
Important to have these difficult conversations. It's not popular. It's not a popular conversation to be a part of right now, but it's important. And I think the more people realize that the conversation is happening, the body is waking up. As you mentioned, the body, it's waking up, it's taking form, it's developing. I think people are beginning to realize I don't have to take it. I don't have to be silent. I don't have to go through this alone. You know, there is spaces and people who are experiencing the same thing that we can share, collaborate, and do something about it. Not just talk about it, but be about it, right? And so in episode 2, we talked about organizations that are covering up or protecting the bullying because of what that bully or what that person may bring to the organization.
Ooh.
And that is where microbullying often sits, is right there, right? So, and that's where it gets uncomfortable because organizations don't only protect the dramatic, obvious bullying, they also protect the microbullying by calling it personality differences. By telling the target to, just let it go. That's how that person is.
Right.
By only acting when something is documented. Undeniable evidence that's not often available with microbullying. Microbullying never produces that documented, undeniable evidence. But as an organization, you have to be sensitive. You have to be aware of what is happening within your organization. So the same system that fails victims of overt bullying also fails victim of microbullying.
Wow. You know, a word comes to mind when you just mentioned that, and I'm looking at status. I'm calling status bullying.
Yep.
How do you compartmentalize value and worth? Because the small person, quote unquote, within an organization is vital for that organization. However, based on status, someone else who is at the upper level is more vital. So therefore, the possibility of if the person at the lower scale, their value is not as much as, so in essence, you are not necessarily looking at that person as a human being, but more based on their qualifications, what they bring, what they don't bring.
Unfortunately, that is the truth. And that is the case in most situations, because if a person, that power distance between the top of an organization, the bottom of an organization, and the layers in between. And so if the person is in a position to bring more money in, let's say for an organization, let's say it's a sales organization, and they have the highest sales, well, they don't want to lose that. because that's money coming into the organization. So if they stop to acknowledge that person from doing any type of microbullying or bullying, they're going to lose that money. So the person who is being bullied has they don't have any recourse because that person is bringing in the money for the organization. So in an organization where they only respond to what can be proven, and microbullying is designed to be unprovable, right? Then the organization has already chosen a side. Even if no one says it out loud, they've chosen a side, and the person on the receiving end sees what the organization has just chosen.
And then, therefore, they don't find any more value within the organization. Yeah. This is. That's hard to sit with.
It is.
That's hard to sit with.
And I think it's important that we do sit with it, right? Rather than move past it too quickly because of the discomfort. You don't want to keep sweeping stuff under the rug, right? You want to deal with it, have conversations about it, because that's the only way change actually happens. That's where change starts. You will have to deal and sit with the uncomfortable, what's uncomfortable, to be able to start identifying where the gaps are and what changes are needed within yourself individually as an employee, and then also within an organization.
Yeah. Well, now if change has to be forced, then it can become catastrophic. No, and we are just looking at this from a broad spectrum perspective. I have watched and I've listened to a few stories where there are just certain activities that's occurring, whether it's prejudice or undermining someone, and it was being looked over and over and over and over and over. But eventually, something happened, and it just blew up. So that's what I mean as for force. Instead of something has to, falter where now everybody knows about it. That's what I mean as for forced.
But if you wouldn't get to that point if you were
right.
being aware of what's happening within your organization,
right.
on your team, in your team meetings, your department meetings. You have to be aware, and you have to stop it when it happens. If you let it go in a meeting or a department meeting, then others who are watching and observing an interaction, they now are realizing that, oh, I can't say anything. I can't speak up. I don't have a voice, because it's going to be met by this, or it's not going to be addressed. It's just going to keep on going like as if that was never said or happened. But people remember those things.
So if we are not instrumental about change, then change can be forced upon us.
I mean, organizations have to really take a look at themselves to know what is happening with their people, right? And then make that difficult decision as to how or what type of change we need to bring about, right? So we have to, and that's not always going to be easy. People don't like change. But when change has a purpose, it has a destination you're trying to get to, especially when it comes to culture. And that's one of the hardest things to change, because you're dealing with people, with humans, and what they've known for the years past, it's hard to change that, right? And so it's going to be, you have to be intentional, you have to be consistent, and you have to make sure that you are designing a culture that you want to be embedded within your organization.
Okay. All right. So here's a question for you. Now, if someone is listening to this and recognizing themselves as being someone who is being bullied, what is it that they can do about it? What do you think their options are?
So I think first and foremost, that we talked about is to name it, right? Name it to yourself before you do anything else. Because one of the ways microbullying works is that it makes you question your own perception.
Right.
It makes you think like you're going crazy. Oh, did she really mean that like that? Did he really say that way? So just getting clear that this is a pattern. I am seeing it. It is real. That's not a small thing.
No.
It's not. And so naming it is important because you can't act on something you haven't acknowledged.
Correct.
Right? And because carrying something unnamed is so much heavier than carrying something you can actually look at and say, this is what it is. I need to deal with that.
And I like the fact that you are referencing to naming it because in any type of treatment, whenever a person is going through treatment or something may have affected them, the first thing is acceptance. So in essence, I accept. I am naming it. This is what it is. This is what have happened to me. This is what I have done. It's another sense of being responsible and taking responsibility, whether you are the person behind it or not, but it's just acknowledging.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
It is. And apart from that, also start documenting stuff, right? Not necessarily to file a complaint immediately, but to give yourself evidence of a pattern. We tend to think our mind can hold so much, but at crucial moments, you may miss or forget certain things. So that may have been happening to you. You want to acknowledge the date, the behavior, who was present, or who was around to witness what was happening. Because the moment you might need that record and then you don't have it because you didn't document it, you'll be glad that you did document it, right? And it also keeps you from second guessing yourself, right? If there's someone at work that you trust as well, not to escalate it, but we all have that one trusted person at work, just to have a reality check, right? That I think that matters as well, because when you're in isolation, your mind, your brain, you can think of all kinds of things and blow it out of proportion, especially when it comes to microbullying. But isolation is one of the effects of microbullying, because if you're in isolation, right?
Yeah.
But
like that.
having someone, another person who may have witnessed, may have seen the exchange, they can genuinely help you to anchor what you're feeling and then begin to help you go through that process as well.
Right. And, in different organizations, whether it's an organization with quote unquote, say 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50 or 100, there are leaders and managers who are there and they care about the employees and those who are under their leadership. And some, even though they may care in doing all that they can to assist and help the team, sometimes they may miss certain, things that may be going on their team. How do they go about, helping or recalibrating?
I like that word, recalibrating. Yes, recalibrating for leaders. And that's where the work begins. And it begins with honesty. Not guilt, not self-condemnation, but honest self-reflection. Looking yourself in the mirror and asking yourself, who on my team has gone quiet lately? Whose ideas aren't getting voiced? They aren't sharing any new ideas. Who is not in the conversations that should be in the conversations? Because as leaders, leaders are not perfect human beings. First of all, they're human, right? And so they're going to miss things. They're going to overlook things or what have you. But it's important because they want, as leaders, you want to build that institute of belonging. And belonging in itself, or the absence of it, shows up in small things and in small ways. Leaders who pay attention to patterns and not just incidents, they catch this early. And we talked about this, where you have to know as a leader what is happening in your organization, with your people, with your team, with your department, because you know your people.
Yeah, yes.
You know the
Yeah.
people that you are working with, or you should know the people you're working with. And so taking that time to be able to catch these things early will avoid it becoming years worth of erosion in your organization's culture, that now you have to really be extra intentional to work at shifting or changing or recalibrating.
Or recalibrating. So basically, what you're saying is that all leaders should pay attention to stuff that can be easily missed, or have someone to be able to be their eyes, because a leader cannot do all and everything by him or herself. So it's always good to have someone with your mind.
Mm-hmm.
To help you and assist you, to come alongside of you, so you can help with the full workload.
Exactly, because you don't want to give air to the negativity. You don't want to give air to poison, right? As a leader, you have to be there for your employees, listen to employees, but you also have to be listening with discerning ears to really understand who is trying to bring division versus who is trying to bring positivity in your organization, right? You don't build a culture of belonging in the big, huge moments. You build it, or you erode it, in the small ones every single day. So it's important that leaders of organizations, of teams, of departments are paying attention, taking that step back to really, really understand the people in their care, the people who are there to do the work for the organization. You know, if you're listening,
That's a deep breath, huh?
I had to take a deep breath. As you know, this is my passion.
Right.
You know, and so, but I want anyone who is listening to what we've been talking about here today, and they felt something shift in their emotions, in their way of thinking. If you recognize yourself in anything, in something that we said today, if it was a behavior that you named, a pattern you finally have a word for, that is something. Don't ignore that. That's the beginning of something. You don't have to have a dramatic story to deserve to be taken seriously. The slow drip is real. In a home, you have that slow drip leak. You don't know it's leaking,
Right.
but it's slowly just drip, 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 drip. And before you know it, you're getting a bill that's astronomical. Your wood is soaked with water.
Mm-hmm.
I recall, I thought, you can speak to this with me. When we lived in our former house, we had, all of a sudden,
Yep.
we saw a leak in the garage. And we're like, where is this coming from?
Yep.
Don't know how long it was leaking for, but we finally saw it in the garage. And when the plumbers came to investigate, it was the guest bathroom upstairs,
Mm-hmm.
that was away from the garage,
Right.
that was slowly leaking.
Right.
And it was leaking, and traveling down a stream, a line through the pipes that landed it in the garage. And that's when we saw it. And at that point, it was leaking so much,
Yeah.
they had to cut out the sheetrock, tear up the wall in the bathroom to fix the pipe where that was leaking. So those little drip, the slow drip, can create this humongous disruption, and costly disruption to your lives, to an organization,
your home,
to your home. Exactly. And so it's important that we don't ignore that slow drip. The pattern is real. And you as an individual we all deserve to be in environments where you belong fully, not conditionally.
Right, right, right. And as you said, this is about belonging. I think what makes this work, it's important that we are not just talking about abstract things. We're not just talking about workplace problem. I think what Dr. Patricia is presenting right now, she's talking about people who actually are experiencing this on a daily basis. They are living it. It's a part of their life, and they feel like driving home from work, and they are flustered and frustrated, and they don't want to bring this weight home with them. So I think what you are talking about is able to assist and to help individuals effectively. How do you bring someone out of what they are in? If someone is in it, how would you speak to them so they can feel as if that they matter, that someone cares, that someone knows their pain, someone have their concern. Be their voice right now for them, so that they are able to at least get the strength to say, you know what, I'm ready to get up, stand up, rise up. So I would say, speak to them right now. For those who may not have a voice, how can you be that voice of reason for them?
Needs a voice to bring the lived experiences of people to the forefront. People who have been living in silence for years, decades, who knows how long, but we have to address it. We have to speak to those things. And unfortunately, if we don't know, if no one speaks up about it, it goes uninvestigated. No one investigates it. No one pushes for change. No one shows ways of how to deal with it, right? So I've created the Belonging Leadership Framework, the Belonging Advantage podcast. It talks about the leadership aspect of it, about being courageous, making sure that courage is in there, and the culture of things, right? And so as people who have experienced bullying in some way or shape, whether it's microbullying or overt bullying, listen, there are people who want to help, want to assist, want to help you to find your own a voice you may have thought you didn't have, but it's there for you, right? Following different ways of coping with bullying and making sure that the next generation don't have to really engage or experience these things. And if truth be told, this starts from the childhood ages. I don't think adult bullies just become adult bullies. They were bullying as a child as well. They may have been bullied in their life, so now they're giving side versus the receiving side. That's a whole different podcast. But I really want to share that if you haven't listened to episodes 1 and 2 of season 2 of the Belonging Advantage, please go ahead and do so. This is your invitation to do so on both sides, on the leadership side, on those who have been bullied side. You can listen to it on YouTube, Spotify, or Podbean. And the research goes deeper into that. So you'll hear more of that on those episodes, right? Today, what we wanted to do here today was to give you a human layer, We talked about why people stay silent in episode 1, how organizations protect the bully. So this is that human layer to share this with my husband, with you guys, so that you can understand the heart behind what I do, what the research hopes to do, going forward. I would love to know what resonated with you today. So reach out to me, leave a comment or send a message, share it with somebody who you may have observed or know that have experienced any form of bullying, microbullying or otherwise, or a leader who needs to hear how to do that self-check and be able to, bring about a change, recalibrate their organization, their department, or their team. Tell me what you're sitting with. This conversation matters to me. It's a part of who I am. It's a part of what I intend to continue to do. And I would love to hear where you are at this time and in this moment.
Well, Dr. Patricia Robinson, I do appreciate the invitation. Thank you very much.
Anytime.
This was a deep, important, and vital subject topic. We are all humans, and we all hurt. We all want to succeed. So I appreciate the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I always love our conversations. It always goes deep. You always push and challenge. So expect more invitations to come your way. And I'm looking to invite some of you guys as well to be a part of the Belonging Advantage podcast.
One more thing before I go, because that's 3 episodes now on the same subject. If you keep anything from all of this, keep this. You don't need a dramatic story to be taken seriously. That slow drip we talked about today is real. And the fact that nobody can point to one single moment of it doesn't mean it isn't doing damage. There are 3 more findings from this research coming this season, so we're not finished yet. And if something in these 3 episodes described your life, tell me. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn at Dr. Patricia Leeds, and nothing you send me goes anywhere without your permission. Thanks for sitting in the uncomfortable with me. Until next time.